what do we all want to do? We want to lower our insulin levels. So we're fasting to dump insulin and to dump sugar. That's how we lose fat. We're dumping the insulin and we're dumping the sugar. And when we eat, we want to make sure we're not filling our bodies back up with insulin. So that is really the bottom line here, guys. Fasting is just a fancy way to say dumping, dumping process. So let's talk about how to fast. How about that? So the general rule with fasting is the more you mix it up, the better. So we are using a little bit different slides today just because we've had some tech issues with some new animations in a previous slide set. So let's talk about first for eating for fasting. So this is the bottom line here when it comes to eating. The more fat you eat on your eating days, the easier the fasting is going to be, hands down. If you want a #1 tip for making your fasting easier, make sure you eat fat on your eating days. That is tip #1. That is strategy #1. Patience. Now for you guys, I don't request that you guys keep a food diary. I would love it if you would keep a food diary, but I don't request it. I don't usually request it until a patient has hit a wall. But if you wanted to record a food diary and you wanted to send that food diary to me the day before we chat or the day that we chat and follow up, I am so happy to review it with you. So I'm totally, I love data. I'm a scientist, right? So we love data. So please send it to me, but I don't usually request it, or, I'll politely ask for it when it's required. But for these people who struggle so much with the fasting, and I go back and I look at their foods, the days that they report fasting and struggling during the fast, the day before that fast, they eat like a freaking rabbit. And that fast is miserable. And the days that they say they're fasting, they felt good on a fasting day, the day before that fast, they ate well and they ate a lot of fat. So eating good fats, all the good fats that we're going to talk about, are so key to making this fasting run smoothly. So that is the #1 tip suggestion, is to eat more fat. Now, I know some of you have never fasted before, and you're super new to fasting and all of this stuff, and you've never really gone on for more than a couple of hours without eating before, and you've really just sort of struggled with this whole notion of fasting and getting going for hours without eating. So the best thing that you can do to help get your body ready for fasting is to do something called fat fasting. Now, there's all kinds of bizarre things out there that you can do for fat fasting. So the #1 thing that we recommend is patients try to do this fat fast if they're really struggling with fasting. But we like our patients just to keep it simple. There are whole books out there about fat fasting. But usually in our clinic, we permit certain foods: olives, avocados, bacon, chicken skin or turkey skin, but not chicken or turkey meat. So olives, avocados, bacon, chicken and turkey skin, but not the meat, eggs, as many non-starchy vegetables as you like, as long as they are cooked in some of the good fats that we're going to talk about. And if you're eating them raw, having them with fat as well. So again, that is olives, avocados, bacon, chicken or turkey skin, but not the meat, eggs, vegetables cooked in fat or covered in fat if consumed raw. So this is what we call this fat fasting. There's no actual fasting involved. You can eat at any time throughout the day. You can eat as much as you want throughout the day. If you wanted to eat a pound of bacon twice a day, eat a pound of bacon twice a day. If you want to eat a dozen eggs, eat a dozen eggs. If you don't like avocados, then eat more olives. If you don't eat pork, then eat chicken or turkey skin. You can get chicken skin at any Asian market. If you have an Asian market close by, you can get tons and tons and tons of chicken skin for very cheap at any of these Asian markets. If you don't eat meat at all, then olives, avocados, lots of vegetables cooked in a lot of fat. And you can eat as much as you like, as often as you like, to help satiate your body. Eating all of this fat will help you regulate your hormones. It will absolutely help you regulate your hunger hormones. It's going to decrease your ghrelin, your primary hunger hormone. It's going to increase your leptin, your satiation hormone. And most patients find after 4 or 5 days of being very dedicated to just eating these particular foods that they're fasting. Like they could be coming off of the biggest carb bender of their lives. And they find usually within 3 to 5 days that they're satiated and that they're okay to do some real actual fasting. So this fat fasting is a great trick. It's a great trick to do if you're really nervous about fasting. Take a week. Fuel up on these fats. Again, olives, avocados, bacon, chicken or turkey skin, the skin from poultry, eggs, and then the vegetables, cooked or raw, doesn't matter as long as they're cooked in the good fats that we're going to talk about in the food section. So really focus on this really good fat fasting. And you can do it. Like Dr. Fung and my husband, they actually did this for a long time together. And it's funny because their triglyceride levels came down so much. So you can do this fat fasting, and it can be a really helpful tool for when you're gearing up and you're new to doing actual fast. I myself will do fat fasting anytime I'm leading up to doing a longer fast. So I will do a 7-day fast. I will do a 7-day fast about 4 times of the year, like seasonal cleaning for my body. I usually do it after the December holidays, the start of the new year. I'll do it before the spring. I'll do it before the summer wedding starts. I'll do it at the fall to clean up from summer wedding season. But just those fats. So Katie is asking about bulletproof coffee. You could do a bulletproof coffee during the fat fast. Vanita is asking about almonds or any other nuts. Try to keep the nuts, try not to have nuts during a fat fast. Nuts are okay, they're great fats, but not during a fat fast. They still can stimulate your hunger. They are very high in protein too. So we love nuts. I have pecans, macadamia nuts, pine nuts, walnuts, almonds. I have them all in my house. Brazil nuts. We love nuts, but not during a fat fast. So nuts and dairy. Really try to keep dairy to a minimum. No cheese during a fat fast. And we have no beef against cheese, and we have no beef against dairy, but we try to eliminate it from the fat fast. Now, to go back to Katie's question about bulletproof coffee, if you do need a splash of cream in the bulletproof coffee, that's A-okay. And I'll explain bulletproof coffee in a few minutes to patients who have never heard of it before. Michael is asking if there's a limit to the amount of calories consumed. No. Eat until satiation. We're trying to regulate your hormones here. You're going to find during the first couple of days of fat fasting, you're going to eat a lot more. And then you will on day 3 or day 4, and by day 5 you'll barely want to eat anyways. And not because you're sick of the foods. Maybe sometimes people get sick from foods, but try to stick to just these fats, and you'll find as the week progresses, you're really eating a lot less from day to day. Michael also asked about no dairy, including butter. So no dairy, butter is okay. Butter is okay. A splash of cream in your tea or coffee is okay, but try to stay away from drinking a lot of cream, a lot of milk, and try to stay away from eating a lot of cheese during the fat fast. But butter is okay cooking, is an okay cooking oil for a fat fast, even though it's a dairy product. So again, olives, avocados, bacon, chicken or poultry or turkey skin, so poultry skin, eggs, and vegetables cooked or raw, non-starchy vegetables cooked or raw in good fats, and all of the good fats that we're going to use. And we'll talk about it. So Geeta's asking about ghee. Ghee is fantastic. Ghee is absolutely a great cooking fat, and we're going to talk about what all those fats are coming up. So use this fat fasting to help. Also, any time that I start a fast, guys, like a really long fast. I think I might have mentioned this already, but during a really long, starting a longer fast for the first time, I will take a few days before that fast, and I'll really go to town on these fats. Anytime I'm craving carbohydrates, so I'll tell you a story. Last week, on my way home from work on Wednesday, I got stuck in traffic right at the same spot where my favorite pizza joint is in the entire city of Toronto. And it was a nicer day. I did have my window open, and I could smell it, and I became possessed with thoughts of pizza, and I wanted the pizza just so badly. And then finally traffic picked up. There was an accident in the intersection. I was literally stuck there for close to 15 damn minutes. And I thought, and part of me just wanted to pull over and go into that pizza joint and think about my husband. My husband will never know if I do this. I'll just tell him I'm stuck in traffic. But I went home, and the first thing I did was I could easily talk my husband into going for pizza, I think. So part of me, the whole time getting into my home, I'm thinking, do I ask him? But I didn't want to screw myself up, because I know after I eat the carbohydrates, I bloat. I feel sick for a week. My energy goes down. It just isn't pretty. And I can't afford to be low energy for any point in time anymore. And I don't want to be all bloaty all of the time and be discomforted. So I went to my fridge. I pulled out like 2 pounds of bacon. I pulled out the eggs. My husband's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I need to eat fat. I need to eat fat right now. I grabbed the jar of olives. I started eating the olives. Well, I put the bacon in the oven, and I started scrambling the eggs, and I just went to town on fat. And literally within like half an hour after eating that meal, I just didn't care. Like I didn't care about pizza. You probably could have eaten pizza right in front of my face. And I probably would have been perfectly okay, and had no cravings. When you're satiated, when you're satiated, you have so much stronger defense against the carbohydrates. So I never go to a party hungry. I always eat something small before I go to a party, whether it's a whole bunch of olives, or I eat half an avocado or a whole avocado. I always go to parties satiated. Last night, I think I mentioned earlier, we were going to a Mexican restaurant, and there's so many great options, and there's so many options that aren't great that I still love. And so I had half an avocado, and before I went to the restaurant. So I showed up feeling pretty satiated. So I was able to stay away from the tortilla chips and the tortillas themselves, and I was able to consciously order prime rib and feel good about it. So Katie asks, what about broth and salt on fat fasting days? Yes, you can have broth and salt on fat fasting days. Now, Benita asks, isn't that a huge amount of protein for a fat fasting day? Yes, it is. It is a huge amount of protein. On your regular day-to-day diet, you wouldn't really want to consume that much protein, but you're not going to be able to eat that much. You're not going to be able to eat a dozen eggs. I can at most eat 2 eggs and I'm satiated. I made a lot of bacon for my husband and I, but it wasn't just me eating all of the bacon. And to be perfectly honest, a pound of bacon for me still sort of fits into my total daily protein intake. So it is very difficult to overdo these fats to excess. So when you are fat fasting, you're really not caring about any of the other rules. You just really want to stick to just eating these fats. And you're only doing it for a few days. Usually by the third day, people are full. They don't want to do it anymore. So the fat fasting is good to help you get into regular fasting. The fat fasting is good when you're having a carbohydrate craving. And the fat fasting is good to gear yourself up for doing a longer fast. And the other rules aren't so sticky here. You need to eat till you're satiated, but it's really hard. Like one extra large egg is about 6 grams of protein. So even not many people can eat a whole dozen eggs, right? And the reason why we eliminate nuts and cheese in particular from the fat fast is because we do know that you're going to be heavier on the protein from the meat. And the meat, like the bacon and the eggs, they have so much more fat in them. So we would rather that you eat those over the nuts and the cheese. So that's about the reasoning behind why no nuts and cheese during fast. Gita's asking about beans and lentils. No. So everything I said on the list, non-starchy vegetables that we're going to talk about, they're all listed in the non-starchy vegetable section. Olives, avocados, bacon, eggs, and chicken and turkey skin. And that is really what's permitted during a fat fast. You can have bone broth. It's an unoffensive fluid. You could have a bulletproof coffee, but just try to keep the cream content to a minimum. All right, so let's talk about some regular fasting. Patients typically fast intermittently. So they'll fast for a day or part of a day, and then they'll eat for a day or two, and then they'll fast again. So a lot of patients follow intermittent fasting regimens. So we typically have patients follow one of 3 intermittent fasting regimens. So if you are brand new to fasting, what I would recommend is you start off trying to do a 24-hour fasting regimen. So a 24-hour fasting regimen is for beginners, and it's also for people who are looking to lose less than about 30 pounds. So if you're somebody who's brand new to fasting, who has never fasted before, or hasn't done much fasting, this is where I recommend that you start off, is with a 24-hour fast 3 times a week. And I'm going to go in to explain what a 24-hour fast 3 times a week means in a few seconds. A 36-hour fast and a 42-hour fast are more so intermediate and advanced fasting regimens. So they are intermediate and advanced fasting regimens. So if you're new to fasting, I would recommend that you start off with a 24-hour fasting regimen. If you're not new to fasting and you've been trying and experimenting around with 2 meals a day or a 24-hour fasting regimen, then try a 36 or a 42-hour fast. They're essentially the same thing. On the 36-hour fast, you would have breakfast, and on the 42-hour fast, you would skip breakfast. So now I'll go through what those mean in a bit. So a 36 or a 42-hour fast are what people should be aiming to be. So if you're brand new, I'd like you to start off trying to do a 24-hour fast. And our goal would be eventually to work up to, over time, doing a 36 or a 42-hour fast. But all you would do to start off is just a 24-hour fast until we talk next and make any adjustments there. And you can do this at your own pace. There's no pressure to move up to a 36 or a 42-hour fast. You can do this entirely at your own pace and let me know how you're feeling. I had one woman, and we started off with 1 24-hour fast a week, and then we moved to 2 24-hour fasts a week for a couple of weeks, and this week we graduated to 3 24-hour fasts a week, and eventually I'm trying to work her up to doing 36 or 42 hours of fasting as often as she can, fast for those extended hours. So if you're new, 24-hour fast 3 times a week. If you're someone who would like to do an intermittent fasting regimen and is quite comfortable fasting beyond 24 hours, the next step would be to move to 36 or 42-hour fasting regimen. And those are what we would like to do about 3 times of the week. Once you get to your goals, of course, we'll scale things down. But right now, while we're looking to lose weight, while we're looking to fix our blood sugar levels, a 36-hour fast and a 42-hour fast 3 times a week tend to do a really good job, as long as you're doing them consistently. When I first started fasting, I did 3 24-hour fasts a week on my busiest days at work, because when you're busy, it's a good distraction from fasting for a lot of people. So I did Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And then after about 6 weeks, 6 or 7 weeks, I was very comfortable doing the 24 hours of fasting. So I decided I was going to try to do 42 hours of fasting. So on Mondays and Wednesdays, I graduated to 42 hours of fasting. But on Fridays, I still stuck with a 24-hour fast because I liked being social on Friday evening with friends or family. I like going out to dinner. So what I did for 4 months until I got to where I wanted to be, I did 2 42-hour fasts and 1 24-hour fast a week. So you can really mix these up too. Every day that you might intend to do a 42-hour fast, you might end up doing a 24-hour fast because something pops up. And that's okay. Social things are going to happen in your life. Life is going to create some variance for you, and that's absolutely okay to have happen. But if it is a 42-hour day, really try to stick it out for the 42 hours of fasting. So a 36 and a 42-hour fast intermittent are where we would really like to see patients go if they're intermittent fasting. And that's something that we will get to eventually if you're a newbie to fasting, but there's no pressure to start there if that's overwhelming for you. Start at the 24 hours of fasting and we will work our way up on the fasting there. Sergio, I'm going to talk about what each of the fasting regimens mean, and I'll talk about a 16-hour fast in a bit. Prolonged periods of fasting are usually 2 days, so 48 hours, 72 hours, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days of fasting. Some people choose to fast from more advanced fasters, people who have been doing this for a while. They choose to fast from Sunday night to Friday night, and that generates pretty good results. And they do that week in and week out for most weeks. And that helps them lose a lot of weight. The patient, Mark, that I spoke about, who was on Fasting Talk, who had lost 110 pounds in 4 months, that was his regimen, or that is his regimen. He fasts from Monday to Friday as often as he can. Sometimes it ends up being Monday to Wednesday because of a social engagement, or Monday to Thursday, but he fasts from Sunday night to Friday night almost as much as he can. A lot of people fast in shorter chunks of time when they're aiming to do prolonged periods of fasting. We'll have a lot of people whose spouses aren't too comfortable not eating with them for the entire week. Even though the patient wants to do these longer fasts, their spouses say, like it's not fair we're doing all of the cooking, or mealtime is very important for us socially. So we want to eat with you, and you might not want to sit there and watch them eat all week long, particularly when you're newer to doing longer fasts. So what works for a lot of couples, we found, is if the person starts fasting on Sunday night, so they fast on Monday and Tuesday, but on Wednesday they eat with their spouse or their partner at lunch and dinner time, and then they start fasting again until Friday. And they fast until Friday evening, and they eat Friday evening, Saturday, and Sunday. So that works for a lot of people, and they do that week in and week out. And that sort of breaks up their week. Then that way they're only really missing 3 nighttime meals with their spouse a week on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. With the prolonged periods of fasting, usually patients feel pretty poorly between the 2nd and 3rd day. So between the 48-hour and the 72-hour mark. And this is because your body has about a 2-day reserve of sugar at all times in your liver. And as you fast those first couple of days, your body is just emptying your liver of that sugar. But come the end of the second day, there's not much sugar left in your liver. So it's like your own fuel light goes on inside, and your body's waiting for you and waiting for you and waiting for you to fuel up again. But you're not fueling it up, and your body wants you to fuel it. It doesn't want to break down your fat to fuel your body, because your fat that takes a lot of work. Fasting forces your body to work really hard to break down fat to fuel on. So fasting is a great mechanism to boost your metabolic rate, because it forces your body to work so hard to break down that fat. And your body wants to preserve as much energy as it can. So during the 48 to 72 hour mark, you're driving with your fuel light on. So you're roaming through life, getting through the day with your fuel light on, and your body's waiting and waiting and waiting, and eventually your liver is almost completely out of fuel, and your body has no choice but to kick into fat burning mode. And then usually on the third day of the fast, between the third and the fourth day of the fast, you start burning down fat and fueling on fat, and usually by the end of the end of the third day or the start of the fourth day, you start to feel a lot better. And on the fifth day and the sixth day and the seventh day, you feel fantastic. So your liver first empties out sugar. It empties out what it has. And then there's a period of time where your body's not really getting into fat burning mode, where you feel terrible. And then your body gets into fat burning mode and you start to feel good. And then you carry on feeling pretty good for the rest of the fast. So the first time I ever did a 7-day fast, I was pretty convinced I was going to die on the third day. I followed all of the stereotypes with the headaches, and I felt a little bit nauseous, but I didn't vomit. That's important. But I was dizzy, and I felt just not good at all. But the fourth day I woke up and I felt pretty good, and the fifth day I felt great, and the seventh day I felt fantastic. So I went for 11 days. Forget 7 days. I went for 11 days, and I broke the fast on the 11th day because I had a social commitment on the 11th day. So it's just really letting your body transition. Now, if you're somebody who's already following a ketogenic diet, if you're somebody who's already fat fueling, you're not going to have that window. It might be slightly foggy, but if you're always in fat burning mode, you're not going to experience that. But when you're newer to fasting and you're working on cleaning up your diet, you are going to feel not so fantastic for that first little bit. But as you continue to fast and carry on, you're going to really start to feel great, feel more energy, and you're not going to have that third day hurdle anymore. So that's with the prolonged periods of fasting. Now, Sergio asked about a 16-hour fast. Dr. Fung and I actually don't consider that to really be a fast. Most of our patients have metabolic syndrome. Most of them have been overweight for a long period of time. Most of them have some degree of diabetes. And a 16-8 fast, we actually call that an eating day. So a typical eating day for our patients is 16-8. And so I'll go through that in the fasting section that we're just about to talk about. Now, Monica asked about a hypoglycemic reaction. Now, if you experience any symptoms of hypoglycemia, you need to end the fast and you need to eat. We have a lot of patients who have had brittle diabetes. I had one patient who could go to bed with a blood sugar of 20 or around 360, and then wake up in the morning with a blood sugar of 1.7, and just really brittle diabetes. So 1.7 is about 31. And that's just sleeping. Like their diabetes is that volatile. So we actually had him eating right before bed, which you don't want to do. But his doctor had him on so much damn insulin. We had to take him off the insulin. It was a real struggle. So we'll talk about hypoglycemia in a bit. Just give me one section to read up on the questions here from Jennifer. Okay. Jennifer is saying that she ate during a fast and the blood sugar levels dropped. So what happens when you fast is you're releasing fuel. You're releasing stored fuel. So it's actually a good thing if your blood sugar levels go up a little bit when you fast, particularly if you're being active. When you're fasting, you're fueling on stored fuel. So you're emptying your body out. And that fuel has to go from your fat stores. It has to go from your fat stores into your blood to then be taken up by the cells. So the sugar has to go, the pockets of sugar in the fat have to go from the fat stores into the blood and then into the cell. So when you're fasting and you're burning body fat, you are going to have pretty decent higher blood sugar levels. But that's not a bad thing as long as you are fasting. As long as you're fasting, you're dumping that sugar, hopefully your body's going to be utilizing it. Now when you start to eat, when you're eating, your body's just going to be fueling off of the food that you're eating from. So it's going to halt that fat burning process altogether, and it's just going to use the glucose from that food that you're eating in that moment. So if you're eating a food that's lower glucose containing, then your blood sugar levels are going to go down. Does that make sense, Jennifer? Okay, I'm glad that makes sense. So Dr. Fung and I found like a 16/8 window is, or fasting is really good for just regular eating, for people who aren't well. For healthy people, you know, who just want to lose a little bit of weight and be in a healthier state, 16/8 is great. It's a great lifestyle to adhere to. A 24-hour fast, we also find, doesn't help too much with patients who have a lot of metabolic syndrome and have diabetes. It does help. It's very slow, but we find with patients with severe insulin resistance, it's not too aggressive. So that's why I'm really encouraging patients to start where you're comfortable. So if you're not new to fasting, we definitely need to start off slowly with 24-hour fasts. But if you're someone who's been doing 24-hour fasts, or once you get used to doing 24-hour fasts, we would want to work our way up to 36 or 42 hours of fasting. And the prolonged periods of fasting, they are definitely, can you hear me now, Benita? Yes, okay. So the prolonged periods of fasting are definitely more efficient. Now, when we first started our clinic, we didn't have patients fasting beyond 42 hours. And we had a lot of success with them. But we do find that some patients, we can really get them off the medication a lot more quickly by doing the longer fasts. They really help kick weight loss into gear, particularly with people who have really broken metabolism. So we find that they are pretty beneficial. Unless you have congestive heart failure, unless you're on dialysis, unless you're a type 1 diabetic. Type 1 diabetics, of course, we don't fast. Those are really, if you don't have a fluid restriction on you by an illness, we do recommend that everybody eventually tries to do a prolonged period of fast every now and then. Like I do them 4 times a year. It's a good cleanse. It's a good hormone reset. It's helped me out with all kinds of hormonal issues aside from metabolic syndrome. So I like doing these 4 fasts. So we can definitely work our way up to it. But if you're brand new to fasting and 7 days of a 7-day fast sounds completely terrifying, we can start off with just doing 24 hours. And you can let me know if 24 hours is too much, and then we can just start off focusing on meal timing. Jennifer is asking about taking exogenous ketones when you first start a fast. So we're going to talk about that in the next few slides too. And we're going to talk about all your questions in the next couple of slides, Geeta and Jennifer. So during a 24-hour fast, you fast for a 24-hour period of time. So 3 days of the week, you would miss 2 consecutive meals. So if you look on this schedule, day one is an eating day. You could have breakfast if you wanted. You could have lunch and dinner. But if you finish dinner at 7 p.m., then you would not eat again until day two at 7 p.m. So you're missing 2 consecutive meals, so no breakfast and no lunch. Alternatively, you could do this from lunch to lunch too, and miss dinner and breakfast the next day and then have lunch. So 3 days of the week you would fast for a 24-hour period of time. But this means you're eating at least 1 meal every day of the week. 24-hour fasts, our biggest issue with 24-hour fasts, and the biggest reason why it doesn't work, is because people tend to pig out still at the end of their fast. A 24-hour fast can regulate your hunger hormones some. It doesn't regulate them a great deal. So when they start eating, they feel like they can't stop eating, and then they end up eating an entire day's worth of food in 1 meal. So this is why a 24-hour fast stops working for people over time, and is why we really recommend that our patients, once they're comfortable with fasting and strong enough to go beyond 24 hours, is why they go to a 36 or 42-hour fast. By the 36-hour marker, the hunger hormones have subsided dramatically. So when you do break your fast, you're a lot less likely to overeat. So that is our biggest concern with the 24-hour fast. And when you stop to lose weight on a 24-hour fast, that is usually the biggest issue, is that you just end up taking this huge meal at dinner time or at lunchtime whenever you're breaking your fast, and you end up eating an entire day's worth of food in 1 meal, which sort of counteracts the entire fast. So this is where we run into issues with the 24-hour fast, and why we would like patients to pick things up a little bit and do a longer fast. A 36-hour fast, I'm sure most of you guys have read the book already, but a 36-hour fast is you eat 1 day, fast 1 day, eat 1 day, fast 1 day. But on your eating days, you're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So day 1, you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Day 2 is straight fasting. Day 3, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Day 4, fast. So you're essentially fasting from dinner on day 1 to breakfast on day 3. So that's like a day plus a night. So it's a 24 hours, a 36-hour period of time. So it's very clean cut. You eat, you fast, you eat, you fast, you eat, you fast. It's very clean cut like that. A 42-hour fast is the same thing, but there's no such thing as breakfast anymore. So you eat, you fast, you eat, you fast, you eat, you fast. But on your eating days, you're taking lunch and dinner. So you have lunch, you have dinner, you fast for a day, the following day you have lunch and dinner, you fast for a day, the following day you have lunch and dinner. And breakfast is no longer a thing that you really have to be terribly concerned about in the diet.